My son was gasping for air in the emergency room, tubes snaking across his chest, machines beeping like a countdown. I texted my dad, begging for a shred of support, and his reply hit like a slap. "We're helping Sophia with her kitchen. Hope Ethan's okay." That was just the beginning of the lies I'd uncover. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to catch all our latest stories. Your support means the world. If you find this video valuable, give it a like. I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below and let's see where our audience is at. Now, let's dive into the story. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was buried in spreadsheets at my desk, just another day as a project manager trying to keep the chaos in check. My phone buzzed, and I almost ignored it, probably another client email. But the caller ID showed Ethan's school, and my gut twisted before I even answered. The voice on the other end was sharp, urgent. "Mr. Carter, it's the school nurse. Ethan collapsed at soccer practice. The ambulance is taking him to St. Mary's ER right now." The world tilted. Ethan, my 9-year-old, my kid who'd been kicking a ball around with a grin just yesterday, was in an ambulance? I stammered something, grabbed my keys, and bolted out of the office, barely hearing my boss yell after me. The drive to the hospital was a blur, red lights, honking horns, my hands shaking on the wheel. All I could think was, he's okay. He has to be okay. The nurse had said something about breathing trouble, but Ethan didn't have asthma. He'd never had anything like this. No warning, no history, just collapsed. I screeched into the hospital parking lot, sprinted through the ER doors, and found him in a curtained bay. Ethan looked so small on that bed, his face pale, an oxygen mask strapped over his mouth. Tubes ran from his arm to a dripping IV bag, and monitors blinked numbers I didn't understand. The doctor, a woman with calm eyes but a tight voice, told me he'd had a severe asthma attack, his first ever. They'd stabilized him with a nebulizer, but his breathing was still shaky. They needed tests to figure out why it happened, how to keep it from happening again. I nodded, barely processing, my hand clutching Ethan's. His fingers felt cold, and he stirred, eyes half open, murmuring, "Dad?" I forced a smile, told him I was right there, but inside, I was screaming. My boy, my whole world, was fighting to breathe, and I couldn't fix it. I fumbled for my phone, hands trembling, and sent a group text to my family, Dad, stepmom, and my younger sister, Sophia. I kept it short. "Ethan's in the ER, collapsed at soccer practice. I'm at the hospital." Sure, I didn't expect them to drop everything and run over, but a call, a text, something to show they cared. That's what family does, right? Dad and stepmom always said they'd do anything for their grandson, and Sophia, well, she'd at least act concerned. I stared at the screen, waiting, as nurses bustled past and Ethan's monitor beeped steadily. 5 minutes later, my phone pinged. It was Dad. "We're helping Sophia redo her kitchen today. Hope Ethan's okay." Kino. I read it twice, then 3 times, my thumb frozen over the screen. Helping Sophia with her kitchen? My son was hooked to machines, and they were what? Hanging cabinets? I looked at Ethan, his chest rising and falling too fast, and felt something crack inside me. Why would they choose countertops over my kid's life? I had no clue then, but that text was just the start. Sophia was hiding something, and it was about to tear everything apart. Hours dragged by in that sterile hospital room, the beep of Ethan's monitor my only anchor. He was stable now, the doctor said, but they needed to run tests, chest scans, blood work to figure out why a healthy kid suddenly couldn't breathe. I sat by his bed, watching his chest rise and fall under the thin blanket, each breath a small victory. My wife, Lauren, was still stuck in traffic, an hour out after a pileup on the interstate. I was alone, and the weight of it pressed harder every second. Ethan stirred, his eyes fluttering, and I whispered he'd be okay, even though I wasn't sure I believed it myself. I checked my phone again, hoping maybe Dad had followed up, maybe stepmom had called. Nothing. Just that text from earlier, sitting there like a splinter. "We're helping Sophia redo her kitchen. Hope Ethan's okay." My thumb hovered over the screen, itching to fire back, but what do you even say to that? I refreshed the family chat, willing a new message to appear, some sign they gave a damn about my son. Then another ping. My heart leapt, thinking it was them checking in. Instead, it was Dad again, this time with a photo, glossy white cabinets, marble counters, Sophia grinning in the middle of her new kitchen. The caption read, "Looks amazing." Sophia's thrilled. Not a word about Ethan. Not a single question about the tubes, the tests, the terror gripping my chest. I stared at that picture until my eyes burned. Sophia, my sister, throwing a kitchen reveal while my kid fought for air. Dad and stepmom, who swore Ethan was their world, picking her over him. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles whitened, then set it down before I smashed it against the wall. The hospital air felt suffocating, like it was pressing the betrayal deeper into my lungs. I paced the room, sneakers squeaking on the linoleum, trying to keep it together for Ethan. He didn't need to see me unravel. I don't know what possessed me, but I opened Instagram, pulled up Sophia's page. There she was, live streaming her kitchen party. She laughed, clinking a wine glass, showing off her new appliances to a handful of followers. "Isn't it perfect?" she gushed, panning to Dad hammering a shelf in the background. Perfect. My son was hooked to an IV, and her life was perfect. Something about her smile, too polished, too practiced, sent a chill through me. This wasn't just her being selfish. It felt deliberate, like she wanted me to see her win. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I dialed stepmom, my hands shaking so bad I nearly dropped the phone. She picked up, her voice all sunshine. "Hey, Lucas, what's up?" Like we were chatting about the weather. I forced the words out, told her Ethan was still in the ER, that we were waiting on scans, that I was scared out of my mind. Her response came cool, casual. "Oh, honey, Sophia really needed us today. She's been so stressed with this remodel. Ethan's tough, though. He's probably just acting up for attention, right?" She laughed, a sharp little chuckle that cut like glass. I froze, the phone pressed to my ear, her words echoing. Acting up? My 9-year-old, pale and wheezing, faking it? I slammed the phone onto the chair, the thud loud enough to make a nurse glance over. For years, I'd been their lifeline. Dad's construction business went under a decade ago, and I stepped up, paying their rent, their car notes, even their damn cable bill. Thousands every month, no complaints, because that's what you do for family. I never asked for thanks, just assumed they'd be there when I needed them. But now, with Ethan's life on the line, they were hanging cabinets and laughing off his pain. I looked at my son, his small hand limp in mine, and felt something shift, a cold, hard resolve settling in. Sophia's smug grin on that live stream, stepmom's laugh, Dad's silence. They'd crossed a line. And whatever she was playing at, whatever game she was running behind that perfect kitchen, I was going to find out. Ethan's hospital room felt like a cage by the third night, the walls closing in with every beep of his monitor. He was asleep, finally, his breathing steadier, but still tied to that damn oxygen mask. Lauren had made it to the hospital, her eyes red from crying as she sat across from me, holding Ethan's other hand. The doctor said he'd need more tests, something about possible lung damage, but he was out of the woods for now. I should have felt relief, but all I could feel was rage, simmering hotter every time I glanced at my phone. Dad's photo of Sophia's kitchen, stepmom's laugh, they burned behind my eyes, a constant loop of betrayal. I hadn't responded to any of them. No texts, no calls, just silence. But that night, alone in the hospital's dim glow while Lauren dozed, I made a choice. I pulled out my laptop, logged into every account tied to Dad and stepmom. Rent payments for their cozy little house, canceled the autopay with one click. Their car loans, both SUVs I'd been covering since Dad's business tanked, stopped the monthly transfers cold, utilities, phone plans, even the streaming service they binged every night. I cut them all, my fingers moving like they had a mind of their own. It wasn't impulsive. It was surgical, each click peeling away years of quiet sacrifice. I'd bled for them, and they'd left Ethan to drown. No more. I shut the laptop, my chest tight, but lighter somehow, like I'd shed a weight I hadn't known I was carrying. Lauren stirred, asked if I was okay. I nodded, didn't tell her yet. She didn't need to know I'd just burned a bridge. She'd see it soon enough. I kissed Ethan's forehead, his skin cool under my lips, and swore I'd pour everything into him now, not people who'd trade his life for countertops. The next day, everything cracked open. Sophia showed up at the hospital, unannounced, striding into Ethan's room like she owned it. I was by his bed, reading him a comic to keep his spirits up when she swept in, all fake concern, red lipstick, heels clicking, a bouquet of cheap flowers in her hand. "Oh, Lucas, how's our little guy?" she cooed, leaning over Ethan. He barely looked at her, uneasy, and I felt my jaw clench. She turned to me, eyes wide with crocodile tears, and said, "I'm so sorry I couldn't come sooner. Work's been crazy." Work. Her bakery that hadn't sold a cupcake in weeks, from what I'd heard. I stood, towering over her, and kept my voice low so Ethan wouldn't hear. "Save it, Sophia. You were too busy with your kitchen to care." Her face flickered, just for a second, before she leaned closer, dropping the act. "Don't do anything rash with Mom and Dad's money, Lucas," she hissed, her breath hot on my ear. "You wouldn't want Ethan dragged into family gossip, would you?" It wasn't a question, it was a threat, her words slicing clean through me. I stepped forward, forcing her back, and said, "Get out!" She hesitated, then tossed her hair and left, the flowers abandoned on a chair. Ethan asked who she was mad at. I lied, said nobody, but my blood was boiling. Gossip? She thought she could scare me into line? 2 days later, Dad called, his voice frantic. "Lucas, what the hell's going on? My card got declined at the gas station, and there's a rent notice on the door." I leaned against the hospital wall, Ethan napping nearby, and let him ramble, something about late fees, stepmom panicking. When he paused, I said, "You chose Sophia's kitchen over Ethan's life. You let her laugh at him. I'm done funding people who don't care." He sputtered, said Sophia needed them, that I was being cruel. I didn't flinch. Then Sophia texted, a wall of venom. "You're jealous of me, always have been. Ethan's fine. Stop milking it." I deleted it, but her words lingered, fuel on a fire. That hospital visit, that threat. She wasn't just selfish. She was hiding something bigger, and I was going to dig until I found it. The hospital had become my world, a blur of antiseptic and worry. Ethan was improving, off the oxygen mask now, his color better. But the doctors still didn't have answers. They tossed around terms like reactive airway disease and scheduled more scans, leaving Lauren and me to nod and pretend we weren't terrified. I barely slept, my mind stuck on Sophia's hospital visit, her whispered threat echoing like a warning shot. "Don't drag Ethan into gossip," she'd said, her eyes cold. It wasn't just her nerve that gnawed at me. It was the feeling she was playing a game I hadn't seen yet. I kept my laptop close, checking accounts to make sure Dad and Stepmom felt the weight of what I'd done. No payments, no safety net. I didn't regret it, but I braced for fallout. It came faster than I expected. My cousin Nathan called out of the blue, his voice low, like he was afraid someone might overhear. "Lucas, you okay?" he started, then hesitated. "I heard about Ethan and what you did with your folks' money." I tensed, ready for a lecture, but he rushed on. "Look, there's something you need to know about Sophia." My stomach dropped. Nathan laid it out, every word landing like a punch. Sophia hadn't just needed Dad and Stepmom for her kitchen remodel. She'd roped them into co-signing a $50,000 loan for her bakery, supposedly to expand it. Except the bakery was bleeding cash, barely open half the time. While I'd been covering their rent, their car, their groceries, they'd been funneling what little credit they had left into Sophia's failing dream. They never told me, not a hint, letting me think they were scraping by. I gripped the phone, my knuckles white, as Nathan added the kicker. Sophia had been bragging about the loan at a family barbecue I'd missed, acting like she'd hit the jackpot, all while Ethan was in the ER fighting to breathe. I hung up, my head spinning. I opened my laptop and pulled up Sophia's Instagram again, scrolling through her curated lies. Photos of pastries, her bakery's sign, her smiling with customers, but the timestamps didn't add up. Half the posts were months old, recycled to look fresh. The comments were sparse, mostly her friends hyping her up. It was a front, a shiny shell hiding rot. Then I saw it, a family group chat screenshot someone had sent me weeks ago, buried in my texts. Sophia, joking about how she'd convinced Dad to invest in her future. Invest. That's what she called dragging them into debt while I paid their way. The rage wasn't enough to blind me to the worst part. Nathan had mentioned something else, almost in passing. Sophia was telling everyone I'd overblown Ethan's collapse. She'd spun a story at that same barbecue, saying it was just a panic attack, that I was using it to guilt-trip the family. My son, hooked to machines, reduced to a tantrum in her lies. She'd painted me as the dramatic one, the control freak cutting off Mom and Dad to spite her success. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath ragged, and paced Ethan's room. Lauren glanced up, worried, but I waved her off. I couldn't explain yet, not until I had proof. Then Dad showed up. No call, no text, just him at my front door that evening when I'd stepped home to shower. Lauren let him in before I could stop her, and there he was, looking like he'd aged a decade, shoulders slumped, eyes sunken. "Lucas, we need to talk," he said, voice hoarse. I crossed my arms, blocking the hall to keep him from Ethan's old toys scattered in the living room. He said he missed his grandson, that things had gotten out of hand. I let him talk, waiting for an apology, but he kept circling. He admitted Sophia leaned on them hard, always had, her bakery, her breakdowns, her endless needs. They thought I was fine, the strong one, so they didn't come to the hospital. "We didn't want to intrude," he said, like Ethan's crisis was a dinner party we had under control. I laughed, bitter, and stepped closer. "Intrude? He's your grandson, Dad. He could have died." My voice broke, and I hated it. He looked away, mumbling about Sophia being fragile. Fragile. The woman who'd threatened me in Ethan's room. I told him to leave. Said if he couldn't see Ethan as family, he didn't deserve him. He shuffled out, head down, and I locked the door behind him. Back at the hospital, I checked my email, looking for bills, and froze. A bank alert, one I'd missed, Ethan's name, listed on a bakery document tied to Sophia's loan. What the hell was she doing with my son's name? Ethan's hospital room felt smaller every day, the walls trapping my anger as much as my fear. He was getting stronger, sitting up now, even cracking jokes about the hospital food, but the doctors still wanted him watched. His lungs weren't clear yet, and every cough sent a jolt through me. Lauren and I took shifts, one of us always by his side, but my mind was elsewhere, racing through what I'd found. Ethan's name on Sophia's bakery documents. A junior investor, the bank alert called him. My 9-year-old tied to her shady loan. It wasn't a mistake. It was a violation, and I was done waiting for answers. I dug deeper, using every spare minute when Ethan slept. I called Nathan again, pressed him for details about Sophia's bakery. He sounded nervous, said he'd heard rumors it hadn't served customers in months, just sat empty with a "closed for renovation" sign. I hacked together a plan, pulling public records, scouring Sophia's social media for cracks. Her posts were all flash, cakes that looked staged, receipts she never showed clearly. Then I got a hit. A bank statement, forwarded by a family friend who'd worked at Dad's old firm. It showed transfers from Sophia's business account to an offshore bank, thousands at a time, labeled consulting fees. Consulting for what? Her bakery was a ghost town. The truth hit like a freight train. Sophia wasn't just failing, she was scamming. The $50,000 loan she'd conned Dad and stepmom into co-signing wasn't for expansion. It was her ticket to a double life. Designer bags, weekend trips, all posted online like she'd earned it. And Ethan's name? She'd used it to dodge taxes, listing him as a fake investor to make her books look clean. If I turned her in, the IRS could flag Ethan's identity, tangle him in audits for years. My son, already fighting to breathe, caught in her mess. I sat by his bed, watching him sleep, and felt torn in two, nail her to the wall or shield him from more pain. I chose both. I spent a night on my laptop, anonymous as I could manage, sending screenshots of her transfers to her landlord and a local business reporter. No names, just enough to crack her facade. By morning, it was done. Her landlord filed a lawsuit, claiming unpaid rent, and the reporter's blog post went live. Local bakery a front for fraud? Sophia's Instagram went dark. Her stories vanished. I waited, heart pounding, for her to bite back. She did, with a text at 2 a.m. "You don't get it, Lucas. I had to do this." No apology, just desperation. I replied, "You used my son. You're finished." She blocked me seconds later. The fallout was fast. Dad called, voice shaking, saying their cards were frozen now, their house payment rejected again. "Sophia tricked us," he pleaded. "She said the bakery would pay us back." I cut him off. "You let her use Ethan's name. You chose her lies over him." He went quiet, then hung up. Stepmom left a voicemail, sobbing about eviction notices, but I deleted it. They'd made their bed. Word spread. Sophia was dodging creditors. Her bakery shuttered, padlocked by the city. A family friend texted she'd been spotted packing a car, maybe skipping town. Good riddance, I thought, but Ethan's latest cough pulled me back. The stress wasn't helping him. His doctor warned anxiety could trigger another attack. I'd thought exposing her would feel clean, final. It didn't. Lauren caught me staring at the ceiling one night and asked if I was okay. I told her everything. Sophia's scam, Ethan's name, the leaks. She held my hand, said we'd protect him no matter what. But the cost was there, in Ethan's tired eyes, his quieter laughs. I'd won, but at what price? I buried myself in his recovery, in Lauren's strength, trying to outrun the anger. I thought we'd turned a corner, that the worst was behind us. Then a letter arrived, no return address, and my blood ran cold. Whatever Sophia had started, it wasn't over yet. Ethan's discharge from the hospital felt like a victory, fragile but real. He came home with a new inhaler, a stack of doctor's orders, and a smile that lit up the house, despite his quieter steps. The specialist said his asthma was manageable, but we'd need to monitor him closely. Triggers could hide anywhere, and stress was a big one. Lauren and I threw ourselves into making life steady for him. Simple dinners, board games, no talk of hospitals or family fights. But every time I looked at him, sketching superheroes at the kitchen table, I saw the shadow of what Sophia had done. Her scam, her lies, the way she'd used his name, it lingered like a bruise. We made a decision, Lauren and me, sitting up late after Ethan was asleep. We'd move, not across the country, but far enough. A quieter suburb, 30 miles out, where the air felt cleaner and the past couldn't knock on our door uninvited. It wasn't running. It was choosing Ethan over the chaos Dad, stepmom, and Sophia had woven into our lives. We found a house, small but bright, with a yard Ethan could kick a soccer ball in once he was stronger. Packing boxes felt like shedding skin, each one a step toward something new. Dad tried to reach out a week after Sophia's bakery imploded. A letter arrived, his shaky handwriting on the envelope. I almost tore it up, but Lauren urged me to read it, just to close the door for good. It was short, half an apology. He was sorry for misjudging things, said he loved Ethan, begged for a chance to see him. No mention of the loan, the lies, or how they'd left us to drown. I folded it, slid it into a drawer, and didn't write back. Stepmom's voicemails had stopped, probably too busy scrambling to cover their rent. From what Nathan texted, they were selling one of their cars, downsizing to a cheaper place. Their choice, their mess. I felt no guilt, only a strange relief, like I'd finally set down a weight I'd carried too long. Sophia was gone, or close to it. Her bakery was history, the padlock on its door a local gossip staple. The lawsuit from her landlord had spiraled, creditors were circling, and that reporter's blog kept digging, hinting at more victims. A cousin swore they saw her loading a U-Haul at midnight, her face drawn, no trace of her Instagram glow. She hadn't contacted me, not since that panicked text. I didn't expect her to. Her silence was the only honest thing she'd given me in years. Ethan asked about her once, confused, and I told him she was away for work. He didn't push, and I didn't want him carrying her poison. Lauren and I talked it through, long and raw, about what family really meant. Blood didn't earn loyalty. Showing up did. Dad and stepmom hadn't, not when it mattered. Sophia had twisted them into her game, and they'd let her, choosing her lies over Ethan's truth. We vowed to build a life where he'd never feel that kind of betrayal again, surrounded by people who'd fight for him. The move was our line in the sand, a promise to him and ourselves. I thought we'd found our peace, that the storm was behind us. Then, a month into unpacking our new place, a letter came. No return address, just my name in sharp, unfamiliar print. I opened it in the kitchen, Ethan at school, Lauren at work. Inside was a photo, grainy but clear. Ethan at soccer practice, his first try since the hospital, laughing as he chased a ball. Taped to it, a note in black ink, "You can't outrun family." My hands shook as I stared at it, the edges crumpling in my grip. Sophia. It had to be her, a last jab from wherever she'd slunk off to. I burned the letter in the sink, watched the flames eat her words, and stood there until the ash was cold. She could threaten all she wanted. I'd protect Ethan no matter what. He came home that day, his grin wide as he showed me a new drawing, and I pulled him close. Sophia's games, Dad's regrets. They'd never touch him again. I'd made my choice, and I'd fight for it every damn day.